revealed. My daughter-in-law's shocking words unleashed an incredible transformation in my life. Mary sat at the dining table, the aroma of chili and cornbread filling the air as her heart raced, feeling the weight of unspoken tensions. The laughter from earlier had dissipated, replaced by her daughter-in-law Sarah's animated voice, piercing the warm evening glow. Tom needs someone who's focused, someone who understands the tech world, she said, her words dripping with ambition. Each syllable struck Mary with a painful clarity. Had she been standing in the way of her son's success, suffocating him in her traditions? The unsettling thought gnawed at her. Mary's hands trembled slightly as she set down her fork, her eyes flickering to her son, who seemed to be caught in the crossfire. In that moment, a realization washed over her. She was being cast as an obstacle in her family's story. The air felt thick with an invisible barrier, one that separated generations, still intertwined by love, yet glaringly different in their visions of the future. As Sarah went on, her dreams shifted in Mary's mind from admirable to threatening. How could she truly contribute when the world was evolving without her? Every casual jab seemed to unravel the steadfast fabric of confidence she had built over decades as a teacher, a mother. Mary had devoted her life to nurturing minds, guiding children through complexities. But could her well-worn values combat the fast-paced demands of today's world? Her chest tightened at the reality of it all, a fear bubbling in her stomach, the relentless question echoing in her mind. Am I obsolete? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days passed with the unease lingering like a shadow. Mary found herself dodging questions from neighbors, trying to mask the internal storm that raged within her. She signed up for online classes, each login igniting a flicker of hope, a desperate grasp at relevance. Yet uncertainty followed her like a specter. Every keystroke felt monumental, as if she was challenging the very essence of who she was. Could a woman of 65 really become adept in an arena where the jargon felt like a foreign language? Each lesson pushed against her self-doubt, the tension spiraling. But then everything shifted dramatically. The phone call came. Tom had been laid off. The floor dropped beneath her as the implications sunk in. Suddenly, Mary wasn't just wrestling for her identity. She was racing against time to protect her family's stability. The stakes felt monstrous, flooding her with a sense of urgency. As she began to plan alongside Sarah, their brainstorming sessions were filled with an electric clash of ideas, of past and future colliding painfully yet energetically. Mary could feel the tension evocatively growing, an unyielding anchor of tradition fighting a current of innovation. In this chaos, however, she found herself grappling with a mix of determination and fear about disrupting the delicate balance of their family. And just as they ignited a new hope, a collaborative partnership, another blow landed, a sudden financial crisis regarding the family home. An urgency flooded through her, and a chilling realization took hold. Not only was her identity on the line, but so was the very foundation of everything she held dear. Gritting her teeth, Mary faced the abyss. Would she muster the courage to risk everything, her past, her dignity, her family ties, to forge a path that could redeem them all in this new world? The ache of uncertainty loomed larger than ever, each passing second a relentless reminder of the fragility that hung in the balance. The sun rose timidly the next morning, casting hesitant shadows in every corner of Mary's kitchen. It was a new day, yet the heavy heart she carried from the night before still lodged in her chest. She stirred a pot of oatmeal, the gentle bubbling offering an oddly comforting rhythm. But as the scent enveloped her, nostalgia clashed with a mounting urgency. How could she find herself anchoring her family when the ground beneath them felt so uncertain? Mary stood at the window,
watching as the neighborhood began to wake up. She noticed familiar faces briskly moving to their morning routines, unaware of the tectonic shifts within her life. Each passing car felt like a reminder of the world moving forward without her. Amid the cacophony of morning, the ache in her heart grew louder. Could she truly contribute anything meaningful to this rapidly changing landscape? Determined to reclaim her agency, she threw her shoulders back, preparing herself for the day ahead. It was time to confront the issues that threatened her family. Picking up her phone, she texted Tom, suggesting they meet for lunch, a simple invitation, yet laden with promises of deeper conversations. As she walked through town to meet him, the streets seemed louder, filled with jovial interactions and laughter. Each exchange sent a pang of both envy and impatience through her. She needed clarity and strength, and fast. Sitting at the quaint cafe, with the smell of freshly brewed coffee swirling in the air, Mary waited nervously. When Tom arrived, he looked subdued, the casualness of his demeanor shadowed by the weight of recent events. "Hey, Mom," he said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes.
Mary could sense the apprehension swirling within him, and knew this wasn't just a casual catch-up. They both carried unspoken burdens. "Tom," she began, her voice steadier than she felt, "I want to talk about your job and where we go from here." The earnestness in her tone surprised even herself. She could feel her pulse quickening as she delved into their options for rebuilding, expressing her ideas about investing in skills that could lead to employment opportunities, collaborating with Sarah, and becoming more active in the tech world. Each word felt like striking a match, igniting hope amidst disarray. "I've been thinking about my own old ways too," she confessed. "Times are changing, and we have to adapt. There are classes I can take, things I need to learn. I want to support you not just with advice, but as a partner in this." The weight of her sincerity hung in the air, reverberating with determination. Tom's expression shifted, fatigue momentarily replaced with a glimmer of surprise. "Mom, I appreciate that. It's just—" He paused, words failing him, grappling against the backdrop of their reality. "Talk to me," Mary leaned in, challenging him to open up. "Tell me where you see yourself." In that moment, everything quieted, the noise of the cafe fading as they locked eyes, each silently acknowledging the struggles they both faced. The air thickened around them, a mixture of discomfort and hope, uncertainty edging away from possibility. "I want to start something on my own, but I don't know where to begin. Every plan I make just feels overwhelming." He looked down at the table, lost deep in thought. Mary felt the stirring of a latent fire within her. "What if we start something together?" she suggested, her own ambitions sparking with each word. "Your innovative ideas with my experience, we could create something meaningful." The weight between them lightened just a fraction, Tom's brow lifting, reflecting the flicker of intrigue. Yet another thought crossed Mary's mind, an image flickering in her consciousness. What if Sarah wasn't the only one with skills that could help? Could she step beyond her self-imposed limitations and truly confront the potential that lay within? As the conversation continued, both felt a shift, a hopeful merging of old roots and new aspirations. Yet it only deepened Mary's realization that with opportunity comes risk, and soon she would have to face the skepticism that brewed among them. The meeting closed with tension still lingering in the air, igniting a flame within both of them. The question remained, would they dare face the obstacles ahead, together? A forecast of possibility loomed, but the fear of failure danced just beneath the surface. Would Mary summon the courage necessary for this bold new path? The answer felt tantalizingly out of reach as they prepared to leave, pregnant with the promise of innovation and the burden of hesitancy. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Mary returned home, a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in her mind. The conversation with Tom hadn't just ignited ambition, it had forced her to confront a deeper truth about her own aspirations. Slowly peeling off her coat, she felt as if she was shedding old skin, her desire to keep pace with the world around her emerging more vividly than before. Yet this clarity also came with a profound sense of vulnerability. What did she truly want? Did she have the courage to dive into the unknown waters of her own potential? In the back of her mind lurked a familiar shadow, whispering doubts that threatened to extinguish the burgeoning fire inside. She needed to face this internal conflict head-on, and to do that, she would have to unearth the hidden strengths she had long neglected. Determined to remove the fog clouding her ambitions, Mary sat at the kitchen table, pen in hand, and began to write. She started with a list of everything she'd learned over the years, skills honed through life experiences that had been relegated to the sidelines. Problem-solving and navigating complex family dynamics became powerful tools she could adapt to a professional context. Each bullet point felt like a brick laid in a path towards something greater. But as she scribbled, an unsettling realization hit. She had always envisioned success through the lens of others, never allowing herself to define achievement on her own terms. She paused, staring at the paper with fresh eyes. What if success didn't have to look like corporate climbing or societal approval? What if it thrived in shared creativity with Tom, or even exploring her talents independently? She couldn't ignore the lingering questions echoing in her thoughts. What indeed had she been avoiding for so long? Fire ignited in her belly at the realization. She would explore her own interests, enroll in courses for skills she had always yearned to master, delve into art or tech, anything that sparked her curiosity. It was now or never. The pressure of inertia had finally catalyzed movement. The day turned to night, and with each echo of the clock, she meticulously crafted a plan. Researching classes online, she stumbled upon digital marketing and creative writing courses. They sounded invigorating and liberated her thoughts from their self-imposed constraints. The decision to embrace growth sprung forth, but a looming uncertainty remained. How would Tom react when she shared her plan to enroll alongside him? Her phone buzzed, breaking her concentration. It was a text from Sarah, Tom's wife, expressing curiosity about their earlier lunch. The words danced on the screen, asking if they were up to something big. An idea formed, and with it, a newfound resolve. That night, she called Sarah. The conversation flowed, interspersed with laughter and dreams. When Mary shared her intentions to enroll in courses, she felt the potential for not just teamwork with Tom, but collaboration with Sarah as well. There was something more than merely acknowledging each other's skills. They could innovate together, creating an environment that fostered growth not just for Tom, but for herself and Sarah intertwined. Mary hung up, feeling lighter yet electrified. However, an unsettling thought crept back. Did she have the right to pursue her path without causing ripples? Maybe Tom wouldn't embrace this change so easily, divided by his own uncertainties and expectations. Yet the flicker of excitement outweighed her fear, propelling her to face the hurdles of communication head-on. She had to approach Tom again, not only as a partner, but as an equal. She practiced her pitch silently, framing it not as a personal ambition, but as a reinforcement for their collective dream. Tomorrow evening, she resolved, she would show him her plan, revealing the newfound energy bubbling beneath her quiet exterior. But was she truly ready to inspire him? Would he accept this journey with her, or would he feel overshadowed? The thought sent a shiver through her, but she had to confront it head-on. As she drifted off to sleep that night, anticipation coiled tightly within her. Would tomorrow mark a breakthrough, or would it reveal chasms she hadn't anticipated? The tension tightened around her heart, leaving her with one pressing question. How far was she willing to go to redefine her path? The morning sun broke through the blinds, casting stripes of light across Mary's room. With sleep still heavy in her eyes, she felt a renewed sense of determination coursing through her veins. Today was not merely another Tuesday. It was the day she stepped boldly into the unknown. She dressed deliberately, choosing an outfit that felt both professional and comfortable, clothes that projected the confidence she strove to embody. As she brewed her morning coffee, the familiar aroma ignited memories of her earlier ambitions, distant yet vivid, teasing her courage. Her mind replayed the plans she had meticulously crafted the night before. Digital marketing and creative writing awaited her, promising new skills and possibly a new identity. But fear didn't linger far behind. How would Tom react? The thought nagged at her. Not just a simple question, it felt like an imminent interrogation of her intentions, a tape that threatened to replay whenever she allowed herself a moment of exhilaration. She needed to be resolute, not just for her own sake, but for him. This was about partnership and mutual growth. She had to communicate her intentions clearly, without veils or hesitation. She paced the living room, her heart pounding in rhythm with her steps. Each calculated stride echoed her rising anxiety, a fragile reminder of the risks she was grappling with. The walls had often felt like they confined her,
as if they knew the limits she'd placed on herself. Today would mark either the sprouting of wings or the collision against those very walls. When the time finally arrived for her to approach Tom, she found herself standing in front of him, breaths shaky yet intentional. He looked absorbed in his work, the slight frown on his brow indicating deep concentration. She inhaled sharply, feeling the weight of the moment settle heavily upon her astute shoulders. "Tom," she began, her voice trembling slightly before firming up, "can we talk?" He turned away from his screen, curiosity dancing in his eyes. "Sure, Mary, what's up?" Sitting at the kitchen table felt both familiar and foreign in this new context. This was a space for both shared meals and shared aspirations, yet today it felt charged with unspoken potential. Taking a deep breath, she unleashed her prepared words, trying to frame her resolve into a narrative that wouldn't intimidate him. "I want to grow," she stated, her voice steadying. "I've been researching courses, and I want to enroll in creative writing and digital marketing classes. I think it could be beneficial for both of us." Tom raised an eyebrow, his focus shifting to her, like the moon catching the first light of dawn. "That's interesting," he replied, albeit cautiously. Mary observed his expression, peeling back the layers of concern beneath his initial curiosity. "I thought we could share this journey. We could explore our passions together, learn from each other, and grow as partners, both personally and professionally." Silence hung in the air, palpable and full of unspoken words. Her heart raced, and she fought the urge to fill the gap with half-formed reassurances. Instead, she remained resolute, willing to face any doubts he might harbor. "Mary," he finally said, his tone measured, "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but are you sure you want to take this on? There's a lot of pressure. Projects, commitments, it might be overwhelming." His concern stung, amplifying the doubts she had worked so hard to suppress. Was her desire to blaze a new trail forcing him to question his own aspirations? "I know it's a risk," she replied, grounding herself in the truth of her intentions. "But repressing my dreams has only made me feel stuck, a feeling I don't want us to share. I want us to push each other to our fullest potential." Tom studied her face, and for a moment she saw flickers of understanding, hesitation dancing against uncertainty. Was this a moment of catharsis or a harbinger of conflict? "I'll think about it," he finally said, though uncertainty lingered in the air, creeping in like shadows at dusk. As she walked away, the familiar pressure blossomed in her throat, that she also felt a new flame of possibility. She had spoken her truths, but now what would Tom decide? Would he embrace this possible evolution, or would they drift further apart? The day ahead loomed before her, battles yet to be fought, decisions yet to be made. Would her courage apply pressure to inspire him, or would it push him away? In the silence that followed, one question consumed her thoughts. Was she strong enough to navigate the tides of their relationship without losing herself? The morning followed with an urgency that matched Mary's emotional volatility. With each tick of the clock, she felt a tautness within her, a tension threading through her thoughts. Today was the day she had planned to take her first step towards her new journey, a discovery that would open horizons she had only ever dreamed about. Still, the uneasiness from her conversation with Tom danced on the periphery of her consciousness. Sitting at her desk, she stared at the computer screen, filled with open tabs of different courses. The digital marketing module caught her eye first. She concentrated on the details, weighing the benefits against the whirlwind of thoughts about Tom's reservations. Would he be supportive? Would he see this as personal growth for both of them, or would he view it as her stepping away from their shared path? This internal conflict swirled, creating a storm of questions. Deciding to channel her anxiety into action, she registered for the classes. The moment she clicked enroll, an invigorating wave swept through her. This was her commitment to change, a tangible step that held the potential to reshape not just her career, but the very fabric of her identity. Though the exhilaration gripped her, another voice began to echo, self-doubt. Was she abandoning her responsibilities by prioritizing this new ambition? Compartmentalizing her emotions, she pushed those thoughts aside, desperately reminding herself that growth often required discomfort, a concept that needed to seep into her relationship with Tom as well. With each lesson completed in the following days, Mary discovered a strange amalgamation of emotions. The thrill of writing creative assignments sat side by side with jarring realizations of her own insecurities. Each piece she wrote bared pieces of her soul, uncovering her struggles, her joys, and her dreams. It was catharsis, revealing not only her aspirations but her fears of inadequacy. Meanwhile, work began to pile up in her mind. Between her newfound classes and the responsibilities at home, she felt a brewing sense of overwhelm. She found herself yearning for Tom's support, but with every interaction, she sensed an unwelcome distance. Their conversations became more about logistics and less about sharing excitement. A recurring ache of loneliness punctuated their exchanges, reminding her of the dynamic shift they were facing. One evening, as she scrambled to meet a deadline, Mary's frustration boiled over. "I'm drowning in assignments, Tom. You don't understand how hard I'm trying to balance this," she blurted, slamming her laptop shut. The outburst hung in the air, charged with tension. Tom's brow furrowed, and for a moment, a fleeting glimpse of concern crossed his face.
"You wanted to do this, Mary. I just don't want to see you get stressed out. It wasn't my idea." Her heart pounded at his words. Was he invalidating her ambition? "It's not about you. I just need you to see that this is important to me," she shot back, her voice edged with frustration. The silence stretched, filling the room with unresolved emotions. Why was it so hard to articulate what she needed? Why was it so complicated to push against the very walls she was desperate to break through? Retreating to her thoughts, she began to contemplate the depth of her aspirations. It was clear to her that while she was evolving, Tom remained rooted in his own doubts. Yet their growth could not happen at odds. They needed to find a way to navigate this transformation together, to embrace each other's journeys while not losing sight of their partnership. "Tom," she finally ventured, her voice softened with sincerity, "if we're going to succeed, we need to talk about where we're going, both separately and together." As she spoke those words, Mary felt the first stirrings of purpose. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but she could face it with resilience. What would it take to bridge the gap between their visions? In her heart, the question loomed. Were they both willing to fight for a shared future, or were they standing at the edge of a divide? The challenge was transforming, but she didn't want to tackle it alone. Would Tom step forward to engage with her, facing the music of their evolving relationship head-on, or would the expanding chasm pull them apart entirely? Sitting across from Tom at the small kitchen table, Mary struggled to find the right words. The air was thick with tension, a fragile silence that hummed with unspoken fears and hopes. Would this conversation lead them to a better understanding, or would it unravel everything they had built together? She stared at the remnants of their breakfast, the plates untouched, mirroring the emotional distance she felt between them. "Tom, I know we haven't been connecting like we used to. This journey I'm on, it's not just for me. I thought it would bring us closer," she said, her voice wavering slightly, betraying her desire for him to understand. "I need you to see that I'm working towards something greater, something we could share." He leaned back, crossing his arms defensively. "But I don't see how it helps us right now. You've got so much on your plate. Work, classes, everything else. You can't expect me to cheer you on while I watch you stretch yourself so thin." The concern in his voice morphed seamlessly into doubt. Her heart sank. Did he really think that was the extent of her ambition? She took a deep breath, trying to ground herself. "I'm taking on these challenges because I want to grow, Tom. It's about my self-worth. If I succeed, it affects us both. I just wish you could view this as a journey we're both on, even if we're at different stages." A flicker of realization broke across Tom's features. Perhaps he hadn't fully grasped the emotional stake she had in this transformation. The silence that followed was almost palpable, a delicate moment of reflection where both of them veered towards vulnerability. "You're right," he finally muttered, though the hesitation lingered in his tone. "I guess I've been focused on what it means for me instead of how this is important to you." His gaze drifted to the window, the sunlight casting a warm glow as if illuminating an uncharted path. "I just don't want to lose you in the process." Mary leaned forward, connecting her eyes with his. "You won't lose me, but I need your support more than ever. This is scary, and I need to know that you're with me, even if it means navigating challenges together." There it was, her plea woven with raw determination. In that moment, she felt a significant shift within herself.
The distinction between her personal dreams and their shared reality began to dissolve, revealing a new narrative. It wasn't just about carving her path, it was about creating a future that harmonized both of their aspirations. Maybe we should set aside time to talk about our goals together. It could help us understand where we're headed individually and as a couple. Suggesting this felt liberating, like a weight lifting off her shoulders. The idea of collaboration ignited a renewed sense of purpose within her. Tom nodded slowly, albeit still filled with uncertainty. "I can try that. I just feel like I don't know how to support you in this. It's all so new." His honesty opened a door. It was a starting point, and for the first time in weeks, Mary felt a glimmer of hope. They lingered in silence, considering the implications of that simple admission. How could they embrace this journey together while simultaneously growing in their individual pursuits? She knew they had to confront the obstacles head-on, no matter how daunting they may feel. As the days rolled on, Mary found herself diving deeper into her courses. Each assignment ignited a fierce creativity that surprised her. She began to uncover a hidden talent for storytelling, an unexpected gift that seeped through her words like a wellspring of emotion. This revelation brought confidence, pushing her to submit pieces for feedback from her instructors. Her heart raced every time she pressed send, wondering how they would respond to the pieces that felt like pieces of her soul laid bare. With each submission, Mary understood that feedback wasn't just needful, it was a critical step towards mastering her craft, revealing her potential not just as a student, but as a budding writer. But with the excitement of her personal discovery came the nagging fear of failure, an emotion that gnawed at her even in moments of triumph. Then, one evening, while reflecting on a particularly vulnerable piece she had written, the gnawing dread transformed into something more insistent, a question that loomed larger than all her fears. What if her writing could inspire others? Would she dare to share her work with a wider audience? The thought jolted her, filling her with a blend of excitement and trepidation. Mary closed her laptop and stared at the walls of their home, feeling a rush of determination pulse through her. She had the tools to change her narrative, but could she summon the courage to expose herself so publicly? In that moment, she resolved to find out. It was clear that the time had come to face the decision that could define her path. Would she take that leap into the unknown, proclaiming her voice amidst the myriad of aspiring authors, or would she allow the fear of rejection to keep her confined to the shadows of her dreams? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the living room floor as Mary sat cross-legged on the couch. Her laptop lay open, the cursor blinking expectantly on a blank page. The thrill of unexplored possibilities mixed with the heavy weight of self-doubt. Each breath felt like a dance between ambition and anxiety, but the clarity of her earlier conversations with Tom lingered, fueling her resolve. Yes, she could do this. Mary ran her fingers across the keyboard, feeling a rush of adrenaline, but every keystroke was a battle against that nagging fear that whispered doubt into her ear. What if no one likes it? What if they laugh? What if you fail? Yet with each passing moment, she felt a defiance rising within her, a stirring acknowledgement that she wanted to face the fears threatening to shackle her voice. From the corner of her eye, Mary caught a glimpse of Tom in the kitchen as he prepared dinner. His movements were fluid, routine, yet the fluorescent light captured a softer side of him, reminding her that in vulnerability lay strength. She was reminded of their recent conversation and how it had ignited a spark not just in her life, but in his, breathing life into the idea that personal growth could benefit them both. She needed to extend her own courage for both of them. Finally catching a breath, Mary opened a new document titled Fearless Beginnings. It felt audacious to call it that, as if she were initiating a manifesto of her own self-liberation. The first line appeared as a hesitant whisper, but as she pushed through the friction of her hesitation, her fingers flowed easier. "I've been hiding for so long." Lines turned into paragraphs, thoughts transformed into liquid art as she poured her heart onto the screen. She wrote about moments in her childhood, illuminated by love but shadowed by fear, days filled with dreams crushed by expectations. Each recollection peeled away layers of repression, laying bare a narrative that had been stifled. She began to understand that the vulnerabilities she feared were in fact her greatest assets. But then, just as she was propelled forward by the excitement of creation, a paralyzing thought struck her.
What if someone from her past read this? Someone who had viewed her as fragile? Someone who had never taken her seriously? Her heart raced at the image. Clenching her jaw, she grounded herself. It was time to confront those fears. The act of writing itself was her revolt against everything that had held her back. "Every voice counts, even mine," she murmured to herself, as if each word were a declaration of independence. Mary found herself captivated by a new idea. What if she made her writing public, confronted those fears, and challenged her past perceptions of herself? The thought electrified her, igniting an inner fire she didn't know she possessed. That night, rather than retreating to the familiar shadows, Mary went to her bookshelf, searching for inspiration amidst the spines of her favorite novels. From their pages flowed stories of unyielding courage and raw honesty. She took a deep breath and selected one. This was her moment, and she was ready for it. The next day, she signed up for a local writing group that boasted a supportive community of budding authors. It was a pressing first step, revealing her commitment not only to herself, but to everyone in her life, including Tom, who once felt like a spectator in her growth. She pictured the discussions that would unfold, lively exchanges filled with critique, laughter, and perhaps an uncomfortable honesty that could tear down more walls. As she clicked submit on her application, a wave of exhilaration washed over her. This was a leap of faith into a realm of creative collaboration and shared aspirations. Mary closed her eyes and envisioned sharing her work, not finding validation in others' approval, but forging a connection that transcended the fear. Just then, Tom walked into the room, his presence staunch and steady. "Hey, how's the writing going?" he asked, noting the gleam of determination in her eyes. "I just signed up for a writing group," she confessed, her pulse quickening. "I'm ready to take it further." His brows lifted in surprise, reflecting genuine pride. "That's amazing, Mary," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "I can't wait to hear all about it." But she noticed a shadow of apprehension flicker in his expression. Was he worried about the risks this new venture entailed? The conversation lingered, weighing against an impending crush of doubt. The tether of encouragement and anxiety pulled taut between them, but she knew both she and Tom would need to navigate these waters together. With her heart pounding, Mary considered the future looming just ahead. Would vulnerability open doors to new connections and challenges, or would deeper fears arise? The intensity of the unknown loomed large, but she was ready to embrace it. A soft chime echoed from her laptop as an email notification flickered on the screen. It was from her instructor, a call for contributions to a regional anthology. The lavender words glinted with possibility. Would this be her moment to shine, or another moment to shy away? Her finger hovered over the mouse, the cursor dancing above reply. Time stood still as she prepared to take the plunge. Would she let this opportunity slip by, or would she seize it as another step toward her evolution? Mary inhaled sharply, her fingers still poised over the mouse. The prospect of replying felt monumental, almost tangible, like standing on the edge of a cliff. The anthology called to her, promising an exploration of her voice, a challenge to unearth the buried stories that shaped her. Yet nestled within that excitement lurked a familiar anxiety, the fear of judgment, the suffocating weight of potential failure. "What is stopping you?" she scolded herself, reflecting on the discomfort as ever-present as the sun filtering through her living room window. Turning this moment into an opportunity demanded courage, and she had sensed that courage developing within her, like muscles aching and growing from new exertion. Each day hereafter would reshape her understanding of herself, and she could not afford to retreat into silence now. With a swift movement, she clicked reply, her heart racing with the cascade of possible outcomes. "I'd like to contribute," she typed, and her fingers flew to pen a brief outline of the piece bubbling in her mind, an exploration of courage, of what it meant to find her voice amidst the clamor of her insecurities. As she pressed send, an exhilarating surge flooded her body. There it was, her first step into a larger world. The spectrum of emotions swirled within her. Excitement lit up her spirit, but the dual shadow of fear still whispered the cautions she was learning to disregard. What if it's not enough? Her mind chimed. But beneath that whisper lay an exponential bravery she could never have imagined before. That evening, during dinner, she reveled in the possibility of sharing her ideas with the group at their upcoming meeting. She noticed the warmth in Tom's eyes as he engaged her, his curiosity piqued by her unfolding exuberance. "So, what are you going to write about?" he asked, leaning forward, eager to support her journey. "I want to write about courage, the kind that feels raw and vulnerable," she replied, animatedly recounting her thoughts.
I want to showcase the struggles, the journey to find that voice. I want to connect with others who might feel the same. Tom listened intently, nodding as his interest deepened. That sounds incredible, Mary. The world needs stories like yours, he said, and she felt buoyed by his faith in their shared narrative, a testament to their evolving relationship. But as the conversation flowed, she sensed a change in Tom's demeanor, and uncertainty flickered across his face.
And what if no one connects with it? What if they don't understand? He probed gently, his concern evident. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. She could see the reflection of her own doubts mirrored in his eyes. It dawned on her, their fears were intertwined. If she was to evolve, then he must also face his anxieties about her pursuit. But that's not really the point, is it? Even if they don't connect, sharing it is what matters, she countered firmly, challenging both him and herself. His expression softened, and slowly the barrier of unspoken fears began to ease. I just don't want to see you hurt, he admitted. In that moment, they stood on equal ground, navigating the delicate balance of passion and protection, learning to trust each other's journeys. As days passed leading to the writing group's first meeting, Mary felt excitement tinged with insomnia. Her thoughts spun, crafting narratives she could not wait to share. For the first time in ages, her mind buzzed with endless possibilities rather than insecurities that choked creativity. The morning of the group meeting arrived, charged with an electric anticipation. She dressed with purpose, the light pouring through the window highlighting her resolve. The cafe where the meeting was held buzzed with chatter. Laughter and clinking cups floated through the air, enveloping her in a tapestry of shared passion and vulnerability. As she entered, the sense of belonging ignited a blend of trepidation and eagerness. Every voice counts, even mine, she murmured, reminding herself, the mantra echoing within. Approaching the group felt like taking a plunge into an icy river, refreshing yet terrifying. Would they accept her story as she hoped? As she introduced herself and shared a snippet of her narrative, her heart raced. But before she could finish, the unexpected occurred. An overwhelming wave of affirmation swept through the room, the warmth of connection washing over her. Mary felt the atmosphere shift. The group leaned forward, engaged, ready to hear more. She realized then that fear could be not only a barrier, but also a catalyst for meaning, leading her to forge a path forward. In this realm of creativity, she grasped the truth. Transformation emerged not from isolation, but community. Yet amidst the whirl of gratitude, Mary's thoughts slashed through the fleeting comfort. What did they truly know about her struggles? Would the unearthing of her raw path lead to acceptance or further judgment? That uncertainty lingered in the back of her mind like a low rumble, as more profound revelations loomed just ahead. Then another email notification echoed from her phone, a challenge from her instructor urging her to prepare for the anthology's final submission. A new curveball thrown her way, one that demanded she assess her readiness one step further. Mary looked around at her new writing family, their expectant faces fueling her resolve. How much farther would she push herself? The ship of doubt still sailed through her mind, whispering questions of her worthiness as the anchor tightened, preparing for yet another storm. But this time, the thrill of potential resonated louder. Would she take on the challenge, or would she retreat to the safe confines of silence once more? The question now clamored for her response. The next step was hers to take. Mary hovered over her laptop, her fingers frozen above the keyboard. She had received the email detailing the anthology submission requirements, and the tightening knot in her stomach belied her earlier resolve. This wasn't just about sharing her story. It was an invitation to climb even higher on that precarious cliff, one that loomed over the uncertainty of her creative journey. Focused on the elements that matter, she whispered, attempting to slice through the chaos of her thoughts. She would not let fear dictate her course. If sharing her story had sparked validation among her new friends, why wouldn't she allow herself to delve deeper and invite them to see the layers she feared exposing? As she started typing, a flood of memories washed over her. Days spent in her childhood bedroom spinning tales into notebooks, years spent silencing her voice out of shame. Writing had always been an escape, a world where she wielded the power to create and control her narrative. But those days felt distant now. They were overtaken by a nagging self-doubt that had resurfaced with sharp clarity. Maybe it's time to confront the past, she considered, her fingers finally pressing against the keyboard. With each sentence, she swung herself forward, mapping out the journey that had shaped her, the pain of leaving her hometown, the bittersweet memories of friends, the suffocating expectations of her early career choices.
She poured it all into the outline, hoping this was the authentic expression she had longed to articulate. However, an unsettling thought danced around the edges of her mind. What if this was too much? What if her truth became a weapon in the hands of those who might judge? She faltered, realizing that old wounds still bled. They had not healed simply by seeking refuge in the company of writers. Through the anxiety rippling beneath her determination, Mary unearthed a realization about vulnerability. While it was essential for her growth, confronting it felt terrifying. Is fear a necessary ingredient in this process? She mused, letting herself consider the duality of pain and beauty. Her writing was not solely a personal exploration, but also an invitation for others to recognize their own struggles. The notion of shared experiences began to emerge like a whisper, encouraging her onward. Perhaps buried beneath the fear lay a deeper connection, one that resonated with the universal journey of self-discovery. The weight lifted slightly as she allowed her story to take shape, punctuated with metaphors and anecdotes.
The abstract fear of failure began to morph into a tangible motivation, the possibility that her journey could inspire others to find their own voice. But that inner spark cooled abruptly as another wave of doubt crashed over her. Each paragraph she wrote was mirrored by the desperate question, was it enough? Tom's words echoed in her mind, his voice laced with concern, urging her to reflect on the fragility of their dreams. Though he had supported her, his worries shadowed her confidence. She set her laptop down and took a moment, gazing out of the window toward the horizon. The sun was setting, casting an amber glow that seemed to blanket the street in warmth. In that fleeting moment, Mary realized she had to anchor her confidence not only in what others believed, but in what she knew to be true. If her story had the power to strike a chord with even one person, it would be worth sharing. Nervous anticipation coursed through her veins as she connected the dots from her past to her present. The fear of being misunderstood or judged didn't negate her journey, it enriched it. Steeling herself, she opened her laptop again, allowing her emotions to spill across the screen. As the words flowed, Mary felt lighter, as if each keystroke was illuminating the path ahead. Yet the undercurrent of unease never fully dissipated. What would her instructor think? Would the group still embrace her if they saw her fractures? For the second time, the email notification from her instructor caught her attention. This one requested her to present a draft at the next meeting. Her heart raced, the excitement mixed with a fresh wave of anxiety. It was her new challenge, an opportunity to solidify her commitment to this journey. She could almost sense the walls closing in, compressing her resolve. Just one more step, she told herself, the motley blend of dread and excitement fueling her determination. As she switched her focus back to the screen, a final thought occurred to her. What lay beyond this moment of fear? In the stillness of her heart, she felt a seed of hope grow. Was she ready for this next leap, knowing it might radically shift her perception of self and certainly others' views? She took a deep breath, ready to confront her next challenge. But another email chimed, this one unexpectedly addressed to her by name, asking for deeper insights into her journey. She hesitated, the recognition of her vulnerability looming larger than ever. How would she respond? Would her voice echo bravely, or would she retreat once again? The question lingered in the air, and for the first time, she felt an inkling of what real courage demanded. Mary sat at her desk, the weight of the decision heavy in the air around her. The idea of sharing her journey was exhilarating, yet simultaneously terrifying. The final submission for the anthology wasn't just a chance to express herself. It was a bold declaration of her newfound identity.
The crumbling walls of self-doubt began to morph as she recalled the warmth and encouragement of her writing group. The initiative she had taken to write about her struggles had sparked more than just inspiration within her. It had redefined how she saw her capabilities. With each keystroke over the past weeks, she had tasted a form of liberation, a gusting wind behind her sails that pushed her further into uncharted waters. Now, and even with the apprehension still stuck like glue, she could sense the transformation settling into her bones. She opened the document for her draft, her thoughts racing. This piece was about vulnerability, transformation, and courage, the very essence of her recent metamorphosis. As her fingers typed, she consciously shifted from self-doubt to an empowered articulation of her journey. She wrote about the lessons learned from both failure and determination, and how they had forged new pathways where old beliefs had restricted her. "You're not alone in this," she reminded herself. With this mantra, each word burst forth as though it were alive, drawing from a well of untapped potential that had long felt suffocated. The submission deadline loomed, and the idea of risk carried more weight than Mary had anticipated. There was fear, but also excitement at the possibility of her words uplifting someone else who felt lost. After much contemplation, she hit send, her heart racing with a mixture of pride and apprehension. In the days that followed, she embraced her narrative with renewed vigor. Her discussions with Tom transformed from conversations laced with apprehension to meaningful exchanges about their own aspirations. It was a shift, less about proving herself and more about mutual growth, blending their visions like an intricate tapestry. "Let's set aside time each week to check in with each other. We both need that," she proposed one evening. Tom met her gaze, the flickers of hope reflected in his own. "Absolutely. Maybe we could even work on something together," he suggested, a hint of enthusiasm creeping into his voice. They began sharing their goals, brainstorming side projects that incorporated both digital marketing strategies and creative writing. The synergy between them created an air of optimism that had once felt out of reach. Mary felt firmly rooted within herself. Her old fears began to reshape into stepping stones that guided her onward. Soon the day of the writing group meeting arrived. She arrived, hearts thudding like a drum, the mingling of anticipation and nerves charging the air. As she shared her draft, insecurities darted beneath the surface, but the acceptance of others wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. The appreciation in their eyes dulled her doubts. Their responses were not just affirmations, they were catalysts, validating her courage and pushing her to explore deeper. With the tight-knit community cheering her on, she noticed a newfound confidence blooming within her.
She looked just past the walls of fear and saw a horizon of endless possibilities. Her written piece was accepted into the anthology with praise that echoed among her peers, the acknowledgement validating the journey she had embarked upon. With each milestone, Mary shed the layers of her former self, emerging as a confident, competent woman who had stepped boldly into her own narrative. She had come to realize that growth transcended merely individual ambition. It involved embracing vulnerability while celebrating those journeys collectively, even with Tom, who now mirrored that evolution in his own way. As she triumphantly crossed the threshold into a career of possibilities, she found fulfillment in every aspect of her life. The pressure she once internalized transformed into empowerment, grounding her like the roots of a steadfast tree. Through adversity and growth, she had cultivated resilience. With the strength she drew from both her accomplishments and connections, she now stood firmly in her own narrative, proud of both the stories told and the ones yet to be written. This was not just a conclusion, it was a testament to transformation. Her journey affirmed each day, and as she looked toward the future, a smile formed across her face, reflecting a deeply rooted confidence. She knew this was a lifelong voyage, one she was prepared to navigate with pride. If you resonate with this transformative journey, you need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support matters, and together we can inspire others. Comment with your reactions and theories about Mary's journey. Your voice is vital. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Your action can create ripples of change.